I had never expected a quiet evening on the frontier colony of Taranis for to change the course of interstellar politics. In fact, my orders as a low-ranking human soldier were clear: maintain perimeter security, monitor for hostile incursions, and most importantly, avoid entangling myself with alien nobility. That last rule was there for a reason. Interfering with a royal family could get you executed. Or worse. But nothing in my training, or in my worst-case scenarios, had prepared me for the knock on my door that night. It started as a quiet hum at the base entrance. I was alone in the guard post, scanning the sector on the holomap, sipping a lukewarm cup of synth coffee. Then the hum grew into a soft vibration that shook the floor beneath my boots. Someone was approaching, and approaching in a way that the automated sensors labeled as unusual. I checked the readings. Life form, singular. Size, human or humanoid. The temperature signature was warm, the pulse regular. Nothing aggressive. Still, I drew my sidearm. Protocol is protocol. The door hissed open before I had time to reach it. Standing there was the most striking being I had ever seen. She, or rather, he, though the classification was irrelevant, wore ceremonial armor, glinting under the soft exterior lights, and an insignia I had only seen in history archives, the royal crest of the Clithery Empire. I'm sorry, the young heir stammered, voice melodic but tense. I believe this is the wrong residence. That's when I realized exactly who it was. The Queen's heir, the direct successor to the throne of the most powerful alien empire within 5 sectors, was standing at my door. And they had made a mistake. I froze, heart pounding, fingers tightening around my sidearm. The entire galaxy had been briefed on the air. Stories of their intelligence, agility, and ruthlessness filled every human intelligence report. And here they were, standing in front of me, vulnerable, confused, and alone. Wrong residence? I asked carefully, trying to mask my astonishment. Yes, they admitted, eyes flicking nervously. I was supposed to be at the ambassador's quarters. I misread the sector code. I blinked. This was absurd. Royalty didn't make mistakes like this. Not the Queen's heir. But the evidence was irrefutable. The sigil on their armor, the faint aura that resonated like a low hum around them, it all matched the records. I see, I said slowly, lowering my weapon slightly. Then you've come to the wrong human soldier. They swallowed, clearly aware that any sudden movement could provoke me, or worse, trigger a misunderstanding that could escalate into war. Yes, I apologize. I did not mean to intrude. And that's when things got complicated. The heir lingered at the threshold, unsure, hesitant. Their hand hovered over a communicator at their chest plate, likely debating whether to call for extraction or retreat. But something, perhaps instinct or curiosity, kept them in place. I gestured inside. Come in. You're not in danger here. As long as you don't try anything foolish. They hesitated, then stepped inside. The interior of my quarters was cramped and functional, barely a place to sit, let alone entertain royalty. But the heir didn't seem to care. They were scanning, observing, absorbing every detail. You live like this? They asked, tone not accusatory but genuinely curious. Yes, I replied, trying to maintain some semblance of authority. Frontier post. Minimal luxuries. Maximum efficiency. Keeps humans alive. They nodded slowly. I understand. Efficiency is valuable. It was surreal. I was hosting the heir of the Clithery Empire in my tiny, insignificant quarters on a fringe colony. Any human would have considered this a moment of terror. I felt it, yes, but there was something else. Something almost humanizing in their presence. Over the next hour, we talked. Or rather, they talked and I listened. Stories of court life, interstellar politics, and the immense responsibility that weighed on their shoulders. They spoke of the expectations placed upon them, the constant surveillance, and the unending pressure to perform. For a moment, they were not a royal figure. They were a young individual, weighed down by the enormity of legacy. And then a subtle shift occurred. They began to ask about me, about humans, my training, my experiences on the frontier, my thoughts on diplomacy and warfare. At first, I was cautious. Sharing too much could be dangerous. But I realized that the Heir was genuinely interested. Not in intelligence gathering, not in manipulation, but in understanding a species they barely knew. You are different, they admitted. Most humans are rigid, predictable. You adapt. You think in ways we do not anticipate. I laughed nervously. That's probably because we have to survive. Frontier life doesn't leave room for rigidity. They smiled, a subtle, almost imperceptible curve of their lips. And in that smile, I saw something remarkable, a glimmer of trust. Then came the warning. Alarms blared across the colony. Sensor networks flagged an unauthorized vessel approaching the perimeter. The air stiffened. That's not supposed to happen, they murmured. I grabbed my sidearm and motioned for them to follow. We'll see what's coming. Together, we moved to the observation deck. The vessel was large, sleek, and hostile-looking. No insignia, no communication. Standard piracy tactics. But its trajectory was direct and deadly. We need to act fast, the Heir said, issuing commands I didn't fully understand but intuitively followed. Human soldiers are unpredictable. Good. I can use that. For the next several hours, we coordinated the defense of the colony. The Heir provided high-level strategic insight while I executed rapid, on-the-ground maneuvers. Alien and human working together, an untested combination. The invaders underestimated the colonists. Using guerrilla tactics, we sabotaged their engines, misdirected their sensors, and created diversions. The Heir's advanced knowledge combined with human improvisation proved devastatingly effective. By the end of the confrontation, the enemy fleet retreated, their attack foiled. The Heir turned to me afterward, eyes bright with what I interpreted as genuine admiration. You were remarkable. Most humans would have panicked or hidden. You acted decisively, and your unpredictability saved this colony. I shook my head, still catching my breath. I just did what anyone would do. Defend the people here. No, they said firmly. Most would not have succeeded. You exceeded expectations. Human ingenuity is underestimated. In the days that followed, the Heir stayed on the colony, under my supervision, not out of mistrust, but as a gesture of mutual respect. We worked together to repair infrastructure, enhance defenses, and coordinate intelligence for the Clithery Empire. Through this collaboration, I began to understand their world, and they began to understand humanity. Our bond, born from a simple mistake, a wrong knock on the door, became the foundation of something much larger. Not just friendship or trust, but the beginning of an alliance that could influence the balance of power in the sector. I learned that even the most powerful beings, the heirs of empires, are not infallible. They make mistakes. They hesitate. They are human, sometimes more human than we are, in ways that matter. And sometimes, it takes one small human action to create a bridge between worlds. When the Heir finally returned to the capital, I watched their ship disappear into the stars. I knew our paths would cross again, for the mistakes of tonight had forged a bond that even empires could not ignore. And I, just a low-ranking human soldier, had been at the center of it all. One knock, one mistake, one night that changed everything.